Okay, Jen, so what are some of your favorite TV shows that you've either binge watched or shows when we were younger? You know, there's certain Gen X standards like Cosby Show or
Oh my
Family
gosh.
Ties, or even shows like ER a little bit later on. So, what are some of your favorite, if someone said, Jen, your five favorite episodic TV shows? What's your five? Not in any order.
From when we were kids.
Until now,
probably-
because it could be like if you were a huge fan of Orange is the New Black, you throw that like your
Okay.
five favorite TV shows.
Okay. True Blood.
Okay.
Love. Let's see, what else? From back in the day, I was a big Seinfeld fan.
Okay.
The Office.
That's what she said. I watched it all in 2019, thanks to Dr. Anna. She got me into it. I didn't think I was going to like it, but
Oh, it's just so
it
funny.
is a great show.
It's a dry funny because he's just so. Oh my gosh!
But what they did with Michael Scott is that the character was, as the show went on, he was more likable. At the very beginning, he was just a dick.
Yeah.
And they decided, hey, we don't need to do this because Steve Carell is so good.
He is.
And before that show, when he was on Bruce Almighty, in the movie Bruce Almighty, it's Jim Carrey's movie, and then Evan Almighty was him. But when you think about Bruce Almighty, there's that scene where Bruce is screwing with him, and Carell does this whole spiel. He's going like that because Jim Carrey is trying to ruin his career. People said they knew that Carell had it.
Yeah.
Because he was not breaking character. He was doing these crazy contortionist things with, like almost like Jim Carrey, right? Anchorman, and so Carell was so good that to make him an antagonistic character would have been a mistake. To keep him that way for the whole show would have been a mistake. So when they kind of softened the character, and then they showed that as much as he was wacky and his obsession with Jen and David Wallace and all that other stuff, but you saw that despite all that, he was good at his job.
Yeah.
And he was good to his staff.
Yes.
And so the show had
Bringing
heart.
them together.
Right.
Yes.
The show had heart. And the thing that I know is that the character that Ed Helms ended up playing, Andy Bernard,
Yeah.
that was not supposed to be a major character. But Ed Helms was so talented. Like, who knew he could sing? Like, that guy was so good that they had to rewrite the character to keep him because it was supposed to be like a 4-episode.
He was so funny.
He was so good that when Carell left to make movies, he pretty much drove the show, and it wasn't as good. But, okay, so you have True Blood, The Office, Seinfeld. So 2 more.
Oh, I had just come up with another one. Sex and the City.
Great show, and
Loved that.
did you watch the movies too? I assume.
I have.
Okay, and you saw did you watch the new?
I have.
What do you think of? And just like that, I forgot the name of it.
It's one of those things that I feel like you kind of have to watch if you're a fan of the show.
Does it feel like Sex and the City, or it feels like a cash grab, or?
I don't really know. TV has changed so much, and everything is. I don't want to get into anything political, but there's just so many things that I'm like, just go back to the way the show was back then.
But do you think that the difference in perception is because they needed, or they felt the need to at least acknowledge that they were a lot older?
Well, they definitely had to.
Right. And listen, you saw the meme everybody did who was interested when we heard there was a reboot. And I wasn't really interested in watching it. But the meme was, it was Sarah Jessica Parker and Cynthia Nixon, and I forgot the name of the woman who played Charlotte, the actress. Amazing. My brain is not working. But, Kim Cattrall famously didn't come back. The Bad Blood with Sarah Jessica, which nobody really understood what happened.
Right.
Because Sarah Jessica is not known to be a polarizing person.
No.
But anyway, so that it was like you saw the women, and yes, they're a lot older than they were when the show aired, and even when they made the movies. But the fact that the women from the Golden Girls were like the same age, and those women looked like they were ancient. And one of the all-time best ones, it's a picture of Jennifer Lopez on her 53rd birthday, and Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls was younger. And I got to tell you, J-Lo looked at least 2 decades younger than her.
It's insane.
Cliche also, people take better care of themselves today. Access to trainers, different kinds of pills, different kinds of skincare products. And in the case of Golden Girls, they were using age makeup to make, like Estelle Getty was nowhere near as old as she was playing.
Wasn't she the youngest of the cast?
Rue was the youngest of the cast. I think Estelle was, but Estelle was playing someone in her 80s.
Much older than she actually was,
Yes, But that was a good show. Okay,
Yeah.
But Sex and the City for sure. Now, did you have a favorite? Because I watched most of it. I didn't get into the episodes where Ron Livingston was the boyfriend, Jack Berger.
He broke up with me on a Post-it.
Oh, right. But certainly the actor John Corbett was terrific as Aiden. Great,
Aiden,
great arc. And this, although the show is a comedy, the scenes of Carrie in pain and hurting because the breakup with him,
right.
That's to me, that was really good TV. I actually thought that show got better as it went along. The first 2 seasons were good, but it was a lot of just setup for a joke and a payoff.
It was very rough.
Setup,
yeah.
Right. And
you look back and you're like, oh.
You really got into the characters.
Mm-hmm.
When Cynthia Nixon's character meets Steve, the bartender, and
he was so lovable.
Right, and but it's something that
she was so tough.
But it was so believable that a woman, a professional woman of her caliber, was thinking that this guy is great, but he's a bartender. Right. It's like beneath him. And even many years earlier, Cheers, another great show.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Cheers, the Kirstie Alley character, and then Tom Berenger, who was a movie star at the time, it comes in, and he ends up being the guy that she's with. And she's basically crying because, I'm in love with a fireman. But then she makes sure to add, and he's too good for me.
Oh.
But on Sex and the City, she finally comes around to the fact that, what am I doing? This guy is great.
Yeah,
he's so
really
good
to
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. So, Sex and the City. That's 4.
Oh gosh, I have to think of another one.
All right. Well, when were you a Family Ties fan?
Because that would have been one of my 5. I loved the Cosby Show.
Cosby Show is a great show. No, great TV for sure.
All in the Family. That was another.
Yeah, ate it.
Oh my gosh. My mother used to tell me I was acting like Archie when I was being fresh.
Archie!
Like if I got in trouble at school, I see you were acting like Archie.
I never got that.
Mom, and as an adult, I'm like, that's so mean that you said that to me.
Yeah. I never got that.
He was like a racist, sexist.
Yeah. Maybe just that you had a big mouth.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. No, that was a little before my time. So there were shows that were already in syndication when we were kids. Like Alice was a great sitcom.
Yeah.
It was already in syndication. Barney Miller, another great show that used to run on Channel 11. And Different Strokes that was another show that was terrific. And it's unfortunate that the main cast, Dana Plato, died very young. Suicide. And Todd Bridges had a whole host of problems, and everyone knows that Gary Coleman had so many problems. But that was a great TV show.
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell, also another classic show. And
Facts of Life.
Great theme songs. You take the good, you take the bad, you take the bad.
The Greatest American Hero, if you want to talk about theme songs that you could still probably
believe it or
sing.
not, I'm walking on air. Yeah. Fall Guy was a great show. I was a Lee Majors fan. I used to like watching the reruns of $6 Million Man. I thought that was super cool.
Oh my gosh.
Hollywood is littered with ideas for movies that people like me wish had happened. So there was during the 90s where Jim Carrey was at his peak, and he made all the kind of goofy comedies up to Cable Guy, and then he wanted to try to do something different, and he did with the Truman Show, Man on the Moon, where he was doing different things, Eternal Sunshine. But there was a project where they were going to take the $6 Million Man, which was a serious show that was not for laughs. They had this guy, Steve Austin, he was an astronaut. He got banged up on the way back to Earth, should have died. They managed to rescue him and basically turn him into a robot, what it amounts to. And there was an idea that Jim Carrey was going to play Steve Austin, but it was going to be a comedy.
Oh.
And the way that it was described, I said, "Oh, this is going to be the funniest fucking movie ever," because with Jim Carrey, with all that crazy stuff, the contortions from 20 years ago, like he was going to do the mock-up because remember that used to be running in slow motion because they couldn't figure out how to make it look real in 1977 to have a guy running 60 miles an hour, so they did it in slow motion. Unfortunately, that movie never happened.
Oh my goodness!
But man, that would have been something. All right, so. What was your 5th? We didn't.
I said Sex and the City, and then I said, oh gosh.
All in the Family.
I said All in the Family. I said Facts of Life. What the heck? Oh, Cosby Show. I mean, like.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Saved by the Bell, like.
Right. Okay, so you could have a bunch of classics tied for 5th. Okay, so it's tough to name 10, but right now, name 5 movies that you would either or consider your favorites.
Okay.
Or movies that you can just have on for background noise that are comforting to you.
Okay. Of course, Step Brothers.
We talked about this off the air.
We talked off the air about this.
But I've seen her on many of her stories on Instagram over time. It's like, you could almost, if you were recording she's watching this again?
It's just so funny. It's never not funny to me. I can watch it. It's one of those movies I can watch every time it's on. And I will still crack up.
Right.
Bridesmaids.
Okay, good
movie. Which
movie.
is funny because the first time I watched it, I was like, this is really depressing.
Right, the movie, it has the big moments.
I felt bad for her.
Right, well, and you're supposed to.
Yeah.
The main character, that scene with the guy where he throws her out of the apartment, because you're not expecting that. And sometimes, that's little black comedy stuff. But obviously Melissa McCarthy, the whole cast is terrific.
Oh my gosh, they're so funny.
Right, okay.
But that was one that got funnier every time I saw it.
Right.
As I think Step Brothers did, because I feel like I saw Step Brothers in the movies. I might have seen that on a date, if I'm remembering correctly. Another one I could watch all the time is, I'm trying to think, Fast Time at Ridgemont High.
Okay, an 80s classic. That's a movie that's now 40 plus years old.
Oh my gosh. And you hear the music now with the classic rock, and you're like, it brings you right there.
Yeah.
Dazed and Confused, another
classic. Matthew McConaughey, one of his earliest roles.
Yep, great music
that ridiculous
also.
Haircut.
So how many? That's 4?
That's 4. Okay, so how about your favorite Will Ferrell film? It's Step Brothers.
It's gotta be Step Brothers, yeah.
Okay, well, given that it's a holiday season, you don't have to give me a fifth. Your 5 favorite Christmas movies, or movies that have a Christmas theme.
So I would definitely choose National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Okay, I was just chatting with a friend about that also. I love Chevy Chase. I was always a fan of his. But if somebody puts a gun to my head and says, what are your 3 favorite movies with Chevy Chase? I'm not going with the vacation films. I'm going to say Fletch, Fletch Lives. Oh, I forgot Caddyshack. But I'm always going to throw Spies Like Us in there. Spies Like Us is one of the stupid, funniest movies of the 80s. Mm-hmm. It's so dumb, but he and Aykroyd were magic together.
Yeah.
You saw that movie, right?
I did. I couldn't speak to, I don't know it well enough to speak about it.
Right. Well, basically, they play phony spies who almost destroy the world inadvertently because they're so stupid. But the idea is they're not really dumb, but they have no business being super spies. Like Chevy's character is Reagan's assistant press secretary. Like, he's not dumb.
Yeah.
But he's also not supposed to be James Bond. And Dan Aykroyd's character is an old-school code breaker, so clearly a 160 IQ, but he's also not supposed to be a spy. And they are so stupid when it comes to trying to be James Bond. I think that movie's an absolute scream. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of my favorite, and you tell me. So I'm a fan of A Christmas Story. I really like that movie.
You can't go wrong with A Christmas Story.
Yeah, and my dad read all of it. That movie is based on a book by Gene Shepard, who was a radio host in the earlier days of radio, like 40s and 50s. It was a book called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. But that's the kind of guy Gene Shepard had, that kind of sardonic sense of humor. So I love A Christmas Story. It's one of those movies I could watch, and I have seen at least 20 times. Mm-hmm. I love the original Home Alone. I think it's a great
It's the best one of the series.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the movie is now 33 years old, which is just disgusting to think that it's that old. That you go back and you say, okay, it was released right around Thanksgiving of 1990. Do you know what year 33 years before 1990 was? 1957. You know what movie came out in 1957? 12 Angry Men, a black and white film with Henry Fonda, where society was so wacky that you could have a jury of 12 and it's all guys! All white guys, I should point out.
Of course.
But 33 years since Home Alone came out, 33 years since Goodfellas came out, almost 30 years since Pulp Fiction came out. So, but Home Alone, it's over the top, it's cheeseball, but it works because it's funny, but it has heart. And you know the scene, and I love Macaulay Culkin. The character of Kevin is such an asshole in the first scenes. You're almost happy that the family is treating him bad, although the uncle is awful.
He was a nightmare.
But look what you did, you little jerk. Just the way he says that line,
it's
just
so
ripping with it. Right.
My gosh.
And you want to talk about somebody having an incredible year, because I love getting into this kind of stuff. Joe Pesci as one of the Wet Bandits. Pesci had already completed work on Goodfellas. And I talked about in a different podcast, Leonardo DiCaprio in 2002, so 12 years after this. He had Gangs of New York and Catch Me If You Can out at the exact same time. You want to talk about a coup and a feather in the cap. He's 28 years old, and he has two huge movies from huge directors, one Spielberg, one Scorsese, where he's playing entirely, they're both period pieces, but entirely comedic genius and, late 19th century with a knife in his hand ready to stab everybody. So Joe Pesci, Goodfellas is in the can, and everybody's like, you're gonna probably win an Oscar for this, bro. You're amazing in this movie. And here he is just having fun in Home Alone, playing I guess he was more serious than his partner. There was more menace with him than there was with Daniel Stern, because Daniel Stern is just crazy.
Yes.
But I really love the movie Home Alone. And Home Alone 2 is okay. It's a remake of the first one, just set in New York City.
Right.
It's okay. But those are certainly my top two favorites. And I like the movie Elf. It was a movie I didn't think...
It was cute.
Yeah, I didn't think I would enjoy it. But, Will Ferrell is so energetic in that film. And he's such a broad actor that it can rub people the wrong way. And I wasn't expecting to like it because I saw the commercials. And with him screaming the word Santa at the top of his lungs, I know him. I'm like, I'm not going to like this.
It's so funny. It's dumb.
But I gave it a chance.
He's lovable.
Right. And James Caan seems to be miscast. He's like out of a different movie, but somehow it works.
Yeah.
Because his character is he's so angry for most of the movie, and then Buddy's humanity wins him over.
Yeah.
The fact that he's so nice, and no matter what he does, he keeps saying, Dad, he keeps talking to him like it's his father, so eventually he comes around.
Like the Grinch.
Right. That it's really good, Christmas spirit. So what do you think, what are some other holiday films? Okay, people always talk It's a Wonderful Life. Or even Scrooged with Bill Murray, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah.
Not one of your
I
favorites.
would watch it. I don't watch a lot of holiday stuff. I'm not going to lie. I did go on a date a few years back when the most recent Grinch movie came out.
Okay.
Which was kind of nothing. What do you want to do? Do you want to go watch a movie? Okay, what's out? And here we are, two grown adults watching The Grinch. And it really was a very cute movie.
I mean, listen, right now somebody could take you to the Taylor Swift movie and you might have a great time, right?
Oh, dear.
Or Barbie. But I know somebody, who was I talking to yesterday? It was at Thanksgiving. It was a family member, and these are my cousins who were just a little bit younger than my father. And you're talking about people in their early 70s. They don't know Taylor Swift's music, but the movie worked for them.
Yeah.
The energy of it. She said, maybe I've heard of 3 of her songs. I don't know any of the words, but I really like the movie. So, hey, if it works for you. Okay, so what
other holiday movies?
I didn't see the one from last year, which was supposed to be good with Will and Ryan Reynolds. I don't even remember the name of it. They did a movie for Apple, which was a Scrooge type of a story.
Oh.
I do enjoy the movie Scrooge with Bill Murray. Murray is one of those actors. He also very aggressive, very funny. He ad-libs. And that's pretty direct retelling of A Christmas Story, just in a sort of dark comedy vein.
Right.
Where he goes through these crazy experiences and he kind of finds a heart and realizes that, man, I'm really miserable. I alienated my entire family.
You don't realize sometimes until...
Yeah, and that's kind of the point of it, that you can turn a Scrooge back into a person.
The Matthew McConaughey movie, I think it was Girlfriends of Christmas
Past. Oh, that's right,
Ghost of Girlfriends Past. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Yeah. There are some people that are just built for romantic comedies. In the 90s, Meg Ryan was just knocking out one after another. From When Harry Met Sally, she did French Kiss. She just looked the part. You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks.
Yep.
Which was a good one. All right. So how about this? What's an example of? Are there any actors or actresses that, just in terms of the way they come across on screen, who would you say is your favorite actor? Where just knowing they're in a movie, regardless of critics or what somebody like me might say, you're gonna think you'll enjoy it.
Obviously, I love Will Ferrell.
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he's
love him.
Great. I even joined Mint Mobile.
Oh, I mean, because he does the little rom-com. He can be, what was it, Deadpool?
Superhero. Yeah. No, he's an immensely talented guy, and he started as a singer.
Amityville Horror House. He did, that remake of Amityville Horror.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, love him.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it. He did Red Notice with The Rock and Gal Gadot. That really was not good.
I don't think I saw that.
It was made for Netflix.
Oh.
Basically, it was the kind of film you could tell was a relatively easy shoot, because this is the kind of thing I look at this is a film school remnant, where if characters don't have to change clothing that much, it's an easier shoot. And The Rock spends most of that movie in a tuxedo.
Oh.
So, in other words, there's not 37 costume changes where you say, oh my God, this must have taken forever. He spends most of the movie in the same tux. All right, so Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell. How about actresses?
Actresses, let's see. Melissa McCarthy is hilarious.
Okay, she's terrific.
I love her.
I didn't love the movie she did with Jason Bateman, the buddy film, Identity Thief.
Oh.
Did you see it?
Yes, I believe I did.
She's funny, and one of the things that I thought was funny was that there's a scene in the movie where she kind of attempts to seduce Jason Bateman's character. And Jason Bateman, I didn't watch Arrested Development. A lot of people love that show. I didn't see it. I know he was in it. And he's a guy who, from when he was very young, because he was on, there was a show in the 80s. Was it Full House?
No.
No, but it was in that ballpark. And he was the best thing about that show. Like, even as a child actor.
What it was.
Well, remember, because his sister...
I met him and his sister.
Yeah, well, Justine Bateman is like all over the news now because she was one of the people on the actor's side because this whole crazy strike that was going on, a big piece of it was that they wanted to use AI to replace actors and not pay people. Like really, really dirty stuff. And so, but what I was going to say about Justine is she was the star first because of Family Ties.
Right.
And Jason was, that's Justine's younger brother. And then she became his older sister because... he just became, he's great. Whatever he's in, his line readings are so perfect. Whatever it, and even in Identity Thief, his reactions, the way that he expresses frustration, like, so Melissa McCarthy is like, listen, if I give you a little, will you let me go? He doesn't even have a reaction like a Will Ferrell would have a big outsized reaction. But she's just like, maybe I can just take care of you in the back seat.
Oh my God.
But instead of reacting, he says something like, he's like, can we please be serious here? Like he's not even taking. Yeah. All right. Are there any actors that most people like? I'll give you an example. For whatever reason, my dad, may he rest in peace, of course. He did not like Richard Gere.
Oh.
I have no idea why. It wasn't anything like, it would be something funny if Richard Gere once said, I hope all accountants die. Like, it wasn't anything like that.
There wasn't really a real reason.
There were certain movies Gere was in that he felt that Gere held back. Like he said, man, Officer and a Gentleman could have been great if they just didn't cast that damn Richard Gere. I hate that guy.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a movie I think is great.
Yeah.
But then, later movies that Gere was in as an older person, he did a film not that long ago, about 10 years ago, I don't remember the name of it, Arbitrage, where he plays a similar character to what he played in Pretty Woman, like 25 years later, now he's married but not to Julia, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it was an interesting movie, and my dad, it's about a dozen years ago, he didn't want to see it. His lady friends, this is supposed to be good. But it's got Richard Gere. They went to see it, and not that he became a fan, but he was surprised by how much he liked it. And maybe he identified a little because Gere was playing his real age. He wasn't pretending to be 40 anymore. And my dad did not like Matthew McConaughey until a movie that I don't think is that great, Two for the Money. It was a movie he did about sports betting with Al Pacino in the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
So I was a McConaughey fan from the beginning. I saw him in A Time to Kill when it came out in '96. I thought he was fantastic. And I've been with his career all the way. The movie where he played, what was his name? Woodruff was the guy's name, who died of AIDS. Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh.
A very depressing movie, but a great film. And another thing where you see sometimes actors who are already fit losing a ton of weight. McConaughey is a guy who is known for just, again, Greek god body.
Yeah,
then he lost another 40 pounds. He was so thin when he made that movie. It was like, oh my God, he looks like he's dying. But that was the point.
That's right.
He looked like he was dying. All right, so
I don't think there's anybody that I dislike that much that I would.
Where you're like, I don't want to see the movie because I hate this person's performance.
I don't.
Well, that's good. All right, how about a movie that you were really looking forward to, and when you saw it was disappointing, and a film that you got dragged to or were kind of coerced into watching, and you didn't want to because this is going to suck, and it's like, holy shit, this was great.
I don't go to the movies that frequently.
But it could be at home
because I have a commitment issue with it.
Right.
I get bored easily.
All right, but it could be at home. It could be something that you flipping channels and a person you're with says, "Oh, let's put." And I want to watch this.
One that I watched in the last few years that I thought I would love, because I loved the book, Where the Crawdads Sing.
Okay.
I thought the movie was terrible.
It happens. Adaptation's tough.
And that's probably a big part of it, is I like to read. So often when I have read the book, I'm like, I don't even want to see the movie because it's never going to be...
Almost never. I haven't read it. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm a writer. I haven't read a ton of fiction of late, but there are a lot of books I read where the movie did do justice to it. Mm-hmm. And what I think is one of the best adaptations was The Bridges of Madison County.
Okay.
Did you ever read the book or see the movie?
No, I've seen the movie. I mean, it was probably many years ago.
Okay, well, it came out in the mid-'90s when Clint Eastwood had made this unbelievable comeback, winning Oscars, and that movie was a huge hit. That book is awful. Oh. It is a horrible book. It was a runaway bestseller, and, all props to Robert James Waller, who wrote the book. It is not good. It's not good. The movie is great because Clint somehow, and he wasn't going to direct it. First Spielberg was going to direct it, and then Bruce Beresford, and I think it was Bruce Beresford, and that didn't work out. And then Clint said, "Oh, fuck it, I'll just do it myself." So he ended up, and Spielberg talked about this when the movie was a success, and he felt comfortable speaking. He said, "I know that I wouldn't have made this movie the way Clint made it, and I would have been wrong because I never conceived of telling the story the way he did it, and he nailed it." The book is not presented in a flashback format. The movie opens in the mid-'90s as the character that's played by Meryl Streep in the film has just passed, and her children are picking up her effects and the will and all this other stuff going on. And then they discover that she had an affair, and they are floored. Oh. Whereas the book it's not, you wouldn't have expected it to be done that way. And I just think the film is incredible. It's Clint showing vulnerability, and the movie was kind of a little bit forward from the perspective that the Meryl Streep character is calling the shots. You're expecting that the guy is going to be the kind of dynamic force, and I guess he is a little bit, but ultimately she's the one who's making the decisions in the second half, not him. So that was a little bit different, and that I thought was a great adaptation. I'll give you another one, The English Patient. Okay. Have you seen the movie?
I think that's really long, right?
It is. It's
so
supposed
with
to
my
3
commitment
hours.
Issues, no.
Right. It's a very dense book with a lot of stuff going on at once. The movie is as good as the book because that was a case where they took the best elements of the book and kept those, and the stuff that wasn't critically important, they loosed it. I mean, it won 9 Oscars, like it didn't accidentally. And I know there was a joke on Seinfeld where Elaine was the one person who hated it. He's like, but Elaine, it's beautiful with the romance, and it sucked. And then there were people who didn't know that was a real movie.
Oh my god!
My cousin's like, wait, that's a real movie? I said, yeah, it won 9 Oscars. Oh, well, that makes sense now.
Yeah, it does.
Fight Club. Fight Club was another adaptation. I read the book. Book is phenomenal. I think the movie is just as good or better.
I'm going to look into that book because I have a list now of things that.
Well, Chuck Palahniuk is a great author. Adaptation is really difficult.
I just finished. Oh my gosh, it was a show on. I watched it during COVID. Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon.
Oh yes, I know the.
I just finished the book.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Big Little Lies. Pretty Little Lies.
And they're. I just heard Big Little Lies. I think.
Oh, it is Big Little Lies.
I heard there's going to be a 3rd season.
Right. And great actresses. Get Reese and Laura Dern and Nicole, like you said. Yeah, terrific.
Little Fires Everywhere. That's another book I want to read because I saw the show.
Okay. Well,
there's a few. I'm sure there's plenty more that I can't recall right now.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, I think that we have reached a pretty good stopping point here. We don't want to kind of go to the well too often. But I want to thank my co-host for today, and I hope to have her on again. I have a feeling that she will be on again.
Absolutely.
Because she's fantastic, and I feel like if we're cracking each other up, you're going to be laughing too at some of the shenanigans and some of the funny stuff, but also the real life stuff that happens, because it's not all funny. It's really
relatable.
Yeah, exactly. It's relatable. So this has been episode 10 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. And Jen, if you want to very quickly do your shirt there.
Team DC Sports Athletics.
Yes, she's a brand rep for that company. And you can give them your Instagram again.
Bikinis and Jeeps.
Yes. And I'm, of course, Movies Fitness Buff on Instagram. And I'll see you all real soon for episode 11. Take care.